Trevor's good?
I'm great. Thank you.
Can you angle yourself towards the camera? Because it looks like you're facing forward.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome back to Hendricks Hall for another episode of Sports. I'm, of course, your host, Trevor Hauer, and with me to kick things off, we're talking a little bit about the NFL Draft. Our guy Topher. So, Topher, we're getting to that time of the year, April. That means draft season in the NFL.
Oh yeah, this is where my nerd statistics of knowing college sports better than professional sports kind of comes into play, because I thrive in draft season. I absolutely love it. It is easily, obviously, anytime the Bills are playing are my favorite NFL moment, and then the draft for the entire league is my second favorite, easily.
And as of right now, the season's been over for about, what are we looking at, 2 months now already, which is absolutely incredible. And the draft order, at least for the first round, has been fully figured out. Not a lot of trades have really been made in the first round, except for maybe the Eagles and the Saints.
Yeah, the one that happened yesterday?
The one that literally happened yesterday. So the Eagles now have 2 first-round picks when they weren't really supposed to have any going into this year. They now have 2. And to kick things off, similar to 2021, Jacksonville, once again, has the first overall pick. Poor Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's gotta be tough for them, but at the same time, they're gonna get better. Trevor Lawrence, obviously having Urban Meyer as your coach obviously didn't help him, but they're having a new coach in the building. I think they're gonna be a lot better than they are this year. Honestly, I think that both top two draft teams this year are better than they were last year. Specifically, just because one, Jacksonville is gonna have a much better coach, and they have a superstar at quarterback, which who he will be. Trevor Lawrence will eventually transition to that guy, and having the number 1 overall pick this year doesn't hurt either.
And they loaded up on free agent wide receivers at least this year. So looking at CBS Sports and their mock draft, they have Evan Neal, offensive lineman, going first overall in the draft. I don't remember the last time an offensive lineman went top 3. They have an offensive lineman going number 1. I think that's what they need, because the running game in the entire year was just starting to fall off. And Trevor Lawrence had just no time to throw the ball. So I really wouldn't mind this pick at all. They definitely need offensive line.
Yeah, you look at a team like Cincinnati, who gets made fun of for their offensive line, but Jacksonville's was bad. Trevor Lawrence was running for his life, and you have guys like Travis Etienne, who will be coming back from injury this year, and James Robinson. They have 2 running backs who could be top 15 dudes in the NFL if they're given the chance. Getting an O-lineman who, Evan Neal, is a freak of nature.
6'7", 337 out of Alabama.
Freak. No, he's insane. He's an absolute just mammoth of a human being, and he is easily just the best lineman overall in this draft.
No doubt. And similar to the second overall pick, you can pick either side. This is Detroit's pick, second pick. They could either go offensive line and they could go defensive line. Right here, CBS Sports has Detroit taking an edge rusher, 6'7", Aiden Hutchinson out of Michigan. I really wouldn't be opposed to this if I'm a Detroit fan, because they need help on both sides of the ball. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. Detroit's struggling. Like, I don't mind Jared Goff, but he's not your long-term answer. But you're not justifying any of these QBs in this draft as like top 5 picks. Like, you just can't do it. Aiden Hutchinson, he was a Heisman finalist as an edge rusher. Like, that just doesn't happen. So obviously the kid's special. I'm not like the biggest fan of him. He was a freak. Obviously, that's also the Michigan State of me, but he was a freak of nature on defense. But like, I don't know how he's going to transition to the NFL. Obviously, the way he looked in college, it makes sense.
And we don't have a lot of time for this segment, but let's get to the first projected quarterback to go. Fun fact, Malik Willis is projected to go top 10, pick number 6 to Carolina. He'd be the first ever Liberty quarterback to get drafted in the first round. Malik Willis is an absolute freak of nature. Like, of course, we already saw in the beginning of the year when they're like, yeah, he'll go in the late 20s or whatever. We all knew that he was going to jump up to the top 10 eventually. And Carolina, if I'm a Carolina fan, I don't have any faith in Sam Darnold anymore. So I would definitely go with Malik Willis as a safe pick. 6'1", 219. He has a very accurate deep ball. He's coming from a school like Liberty who's playing in a weaker conference, but I think this is an opportunity that they just really can't pass up on.
Yeah, no, if they don't go Malik Willis, I don't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know who they're picking at that point then. Because, like, Sam Darnold, he's just not the answer. I don't know who their backup is. So, like, realistically, Malik Willis, like, watching his pro day, oh, my God. Like, people thought Zach Wilson's pro day was good last year, and that's why he went number 2 overall last year. Malik Willis's kind of looked better.
Yeah.
And Zach Wilson had one of the best pro days we've seen out of a quarterback. So it just doesn't make sense.
And automatically, like, you see Zach Wilson going to the Jets, Malik Willis going to the Panthers. He's already in a much better spot than going to the Jets, let's just be honest.
That's for sure.
And at the same time, if he gets drafted to Carolina, he has Christian McCaffrey. There's your number one weapon right there. DJ Moore is also there. So I think if he goes there, I think he's gonna struggle a bit. Rookie quarterbacks usually do, but he'll eventually find his way. Similar to Kenny Pickett, who is projected to go 8th overall to Atlanta. Of course, they lost their franchise quarterback that they've had since 2008, I believe it was, with Matt Ryan. Senior out of Pittsburgh, 6'3", 217. He has a little bit of accuracy issues, but something that can obviously be coached. And obviously he has Kyle Pitts as his number 1 weapon. I would like this if you're an Atlanta fan too.
Yeah, no, you like Kenny Pickett as your quarterback pick, but like, you're down bad in general if you're an Atlanta fan right now, because that team's not doing anything. They are coming in last in the South, which is going to say something because the South is bad this year besides Tampa.
Right.
Like, it's not like, I honestly think Carolina, if they take Malik Willis, does better than Atlanta does if they take Kenny Pickett. Like, I think they're just not in a good situation. The defense is bad. The weapons besides Kyle Pitts and Cordero Patterson are bad. But, like, you can't be giving the Cordero Patterson ball 50 times a game.
Exactly.
So, like, what are you doing with him? Like, yeah, Kenny Pickett to Kyle Pitts sounds good on paper, but God, is that team bad overall, though?
And you really can't stretch the ball down the field like you would with a Malik Willis, because obviously we've seen the highlights from Kenny Pickett. His deep ball accuracy is not quite there. He threw a lot of interceptions on passes 45 yards and beyond. So with that said, I was surprised to see that Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati, go to the Saints at 16 over Kenny Pickett. I would have figured that Desmond is a better quarterback than Kenny, but they're just two totally different style quarterbacks. It's like comparing apples to oranges. I think he fits the Saints system more than Kenny Pickett would with the Falcons, if that makes any sense.
Yes, I also think Kenny Pickett fits the Saints because, like, Drew Brees, smaller end quarterback. Kenny Pickett, not a big dude.
No.
Like, he's a good quarterback. He's a good pocket passer. He can move a little bit. That's what Drew Brees was for you that you lost 2 years ago.
Pickett's got the height, but he's 217. He doesn't weigh as much as a lot of these other guys do. But yeah, Ridder goes to 16, projected earlier in the season to go 75 overall. That's a huge jump to go from 75 to 16. The first major wide receiver to go, I believe that's on here, is Jameson Williams going to the Eagles on a trade from the Miami Dolphins to go up to pick number 15. It's a very risky pick because Williams from Alabama recently just tore his ACL. Would you really take that guy at 15 overall in a trade with the Dolphins to go up all the way up to that spot?
I mean, you look at a guy like Jalen Waddle, came off season-ending injury. was literally a Rookie of the Year candidate.
And a great kick returner.
And he was insane. Yeah, so like Jamison Williams, you kind of hope, like they hit with Devontae Smith. Like the Eagles hit with that. You get Jamison Williams, which wide receiver is your biggest issue as an Eagles player, as like an Eagles team. So, and then basically at that point, you take those 2 Alabama stud wide receivers and you're like, all right, Jalen Hurts, if you can't do it with these guys, you're the problem here. So, like, I think that's what they're doing. They're trying as hard as they can to commit to Jalen Hurts, give him the weapons, and let him prove he's the quarterback of the future, which I don't think he is.
I don't think so either. And real quick, who do you think the Bills are going to take? Because they have them taking corner. I wouldn't be surprised if they go DB as well.
No, Andrew Booth Jr. is who I want the Bills to take. Obviously, we'll probably get into that a little bit later when we actually talk specifically Bills closer to draft season, but Andrew Booth Jr. is a freak, and I hope they take him.
Yep, and they're going to pick 25. If anything changes, we'll definitely let you know. But thanks for coming on. We'll see you a little bit later for our other segment. But next, we're going to have Brent to talk some hockey with us, so stick around.
We're ready for you.
Pneumococcal. If you're 65 or older, like me, you're at greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia, even if you're healthy. People 65 plus are over 10 times more likely to land in the hospital for pneumococcal pneumonia than those 18 to 49. And it's important we all do what we can to stay healthy. So, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccination.
Hope, where are you hiding? I search for you in the seconds, the minutes of each and every day. Hear me as I call out to you. Take my hand. Lift me up as I lift up others. Welcome me home, father, mother, sister, brother, son, daughter. Hear us now. Alone we stood, divided we fell. No longer. Now we choose to make the connection. Our new mission lies within. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
16 is such a significant age. I promised to help protect my eldest daughter during this exciting time in her life. Teens are at an increased risk for meningococcal disease, a rare, potentially deadly bacterial infection. But half haven't received the CDC-recommended second dose of the MenACWY vaccine at 16. I want to help change that. Take your shot against meningitis. Talk to your teen's doctor about the MenACWY vaccine and ask about MenB. Visit the16vaccine.org.
Happy to have Brent on to discuss some NHL. And I think to kick things off, we have to go with some live scores here.
Have to go with some
we got
live
some
scores.
Weird games
That's
going on
some weird,
here.
crazy games. So first, we'll start off with the Sabres, the hometown
Why
team.
not?
Why not? Tied 2-2 currently right now
9
with
minutes to go in the
the
third.
Hurricanes. 9 minutes to go. Currently getting outshot, 29-18. But, you know, I was watching this game a little bit before I left, and the Sabres did look like they were picking up the pace, coming out in the second period. Each line, Cousins line, Tuck's line, they were moving the puck real well. So, I mean, I haven't watched it since then, so I don't know how they've been playing. I'm assuming they've been keeping it up.
All we want is a point, because if you're going to lose a hockey game, just lose it in overtime. That's all we care about.
Exactly,
get
especially
the
for the
points.
Sabres.
Exactly.
And then I'm going to touch up on this game real quick. The Blue Jackets and the Flyers are currently tied at 2, and the Flyers are outshooting the Blue Jackets 45-20. I'm sorry, I had to look at that again to make sure I had that right.
By 25.
Yeah, by 20. Yeah, like, what?
And they're still
Flyers?
tied with 9.5 to go in the third.
Yeah, 2-2. I mean, shout out to the Blue Jackets, Tendy, for staying strong in that back there, but wow.
He's the only reason why they're still in the game.
Apparently, but 45 shots from the Flyers, that's something that, honestly, you don't really see that much from them. And it's against a team like Columbus, I mean...
It's just one of those nights. Something's in the water in the NHL.
Something is in the water.
This one, though, Toronto and Florida. End of the second period, it's 5-4.
And going into it, it was 4-1.
4-1 Toronto, and Florida's finding their way back. So they got
Changed
20
out.
minutes to score one goal to tie it up.
They changed out the goalie. Spencer Knight's now in. And Nylander and Marner for Toronto are actually going off for him. Marner has 2 goals right now. Nylander's got like a goal and an assist. I only know that those 2 specific players are going off because I got them on the fantasy squad. So they're racking up my points right now, which I love to see. But big comeback from the Panthers in 1 period to come back down 4-1. You know what they say, the 3-goal lead's always the worst lead in hockey.
Yeah, either 3 or 2. I mean, those are the ones that you're pretty much just flirting with fire at that point.
Yep.
Some other scores in the 3rd period. Colorado's up on Pittsburgh 4-2. Rangers up on the Devils 3-1. Sens up on the Habs 4-3. The Red Wings are up on the Bruins 3-2. Preds over the Wild 3-1. And the Islanders and Stars are tied at 1. And then later at 10:30 Eastern Time, the Sharks host the Edmonton Oilers, which should also be a really good game as well.
Yeah, a lot of great games around the NHL tonight. But moving away from the live games a little bit, let's talk about RJ Knight. Let's talk about RJ Knight. What a night.
Legendary.
I mean, legendary guy, legendary announcer for the past, I don't even know how many numbers.
Since 1971.
Yeah, there you go. We'll just go with that. I don't know the exact
51
numbers.
years.
50 something like that. Yeah, great. What a guy. I mean, Buffalo Sabres announcing. I don't know if it's going to be the same without him in there.
I don't think it will. But maybe Dan Dunleavy turns it around. We don't really know. I just whenever I listen to him, I'm just like, it's not RJ.
Yeah.
But that was the first sellout of the year. It only took until May 1st, April Fool's Day, to get 19,070 fans in the seats, which was great. And, of course, the 4-3 outcome with a win over the Nashville Predators was great.
Against the Smashville Preds.
3-3 after 1, by the way.
Yeah, and then wow, oh my God. If I was at that game, I would have been like, are you kidding me? You guys scored 6 goals in the first period, and then you don't score again until the 3rd. But, I mean, I'm glad they pulled out the win, especially on RJ Knight. And to say, what an iconic moment.
Yeah.
Alex Tuch to be the one alongside with Cody Eakin, but Tuch being the one to come out and, go to the bench and bring RJ out on the ice after the game. I mean,
Grew up listening to him,
hometown kid. Now he's on the team, and he got to bring RJ out. I mean, that's just that moment right there. I could say this for probably everyone in Buffalo. That was heartwarming.
And same with the pregame ceremonies too, like where he was at the
videos
podium,
and stuff.
all the video packages that they were throwing out there, and all the former Sabres from the 70s and the 80s that were behind him, congratulating him. I saw Jason Woolley was there, one of the top defensemen from the 1999 run, and he was just pumping up RJ the whole time. So many players from the 70s and 80s were still there, which was awesome to see. That they still care about the Sabres, number one, and they still remember the iconic Rick Jeanneret as well. So.
I mean, how could you forget that guy?
Yeah,
those calls are just unbelievable. I mean, we could rack off a whole list right now, but I mean, I'm sure everyone knows RJ's most famous iconic calls.
Scary Good, Fa La 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 Fontaine, Mayday. I mean, who could forget that one? Right?
Yeah, it goes on and on. But what
so
spectacular
many
night!
lines.
Spectacular night for Buffalo.
And that was their actually 8th straight game where they clinched at least a point in a single game. If you compare these numbers to like last March when they lost 18 straight games, it's almost unheard of. The Sabres go through 8 games in a row, at least getting a point. That was actually snapped. That came to an end after a 5-3 loss on Kids Day against the Florida Panthers. But at least they had 11,000 fans in the stands.
Yeah, that's good.
It was 4-1 at one point. The Sabres started to come back just a little bit. And then Florida scored in the 3rd period to pretty much put it away. But
I mean, a team like Florida, 5-3 loss. That's for us Buffalo. I mean, at least for me personally, I don't mind seeing that score because I mean, the last time we played them, we lost like 6-1 or something. They just smoked us at home. Yeah. So then seeing us only lose by 2 to a number two, whatever.
I think they're the number 1 team in the East. Yeah.
They're one in the East, but in the league, I think they're 2. I think they're right behind.
Yeah, 2 in the league, number 1 in the East. Yep.
So 5-3 loss. I mean, that's not really that bad to Florida, in my opinion.
I'll take it. I mean, especially coming off of such a great month of March as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, what do we go? 8-3-3, which was the best since March of 2016, aka Eichel's rookie year with the Sabres. So. I'll take it. Last year they won 1 game in March, and they had to go to overtime to do it. So I'll take it.
I'll take that every day of the week.
What about Taige Thompson catching Jack's 36 career high goals? He already has 30 right now. He's already on the watch. 6 more goals to go with about 12 games left, or 11 games after tonight. I think he could catch 36 at least.
Easily, yeah. I mean, Thompson's that guy. He's that big 6-foot forward that has that power skating ability. He finds his way through the offensive zone to make himself open and get those, fast, quick, hard shots off. And his wrister, he's got a hard wrister. Couldn't speak, but
he's working on his slap shot too, which is also looking great. His skating's looking a lot better. The thing about Eichel's 36 goal record in 2020 was they only played 58 games that season because they cut off the season because of COVID. Mm-hmm. So he did that in 58 games. Taige is going to have to catch his record at least with. I don't even know. Has he missed a game this year? Maybe.
I don't think so.
So it might take him 82 games to do it, but that's still a major improvement from Taige Thompson's point because last year, let's be honest, Sabres fans really couldn't stand the guy.
Yeah.
Now he's totally turned his game around.
True.
And same with Jeff Skinner. Everyone was saying last year Jeff Skinner is falling off. Why do we pay him to such a big contract? He has 29 goals. He scored tonight. He's on that 30-goal watch right now. He could still do it. The game's still going on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Skinner, I'm not going to lie. I was one of those people that said that about Skinner. I mean.
Me too.
See, so we're not the only ones, I bet. And that's because Skinner was inconsistent. He came here. We've said this before. He started strong, and then he went down.
Went to the All-Star game.
And, he started becoming inconsistent. We moved him down to the 4th line. That's also during the time that everything was going weird with the Sabres, so it was probably a tough time for everyone on the team at that point. But seeing Skinner come back now, as in stats-wise, I'm loving it. And especially with that line, him, Tuck, and Thompson, that's a power line for us right there.
Yeah, it gives me the Eichel, Skinner, Pominville lines, or the vibes from that line, because that was the year where Eichel and Skinner worked together to get Skinner those 40 goals. Mm-hmm. It's giving me that kind of vibe. But you can tell that Skinner's out there having fun. That's like the most important thing. He knew he signed a 9-year deal here. He wants to win. He wants to go to the playoffs one of these years. He knows that playoffs are just around the corner. And if they just play as consistent as they were in the month of March all season next year, there's no doubt in my mind this team is going to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
They just need to find
100%.
that way how to get consistent. Some more news out of the Sabres front. Devin Levi is actually returning to college next season. Hot take here, I think that's a great move.
Honestly?
Because he is our best goaltending prospect right now, and that'll just give him more time to develop. And then when they call him up in a couple years, he doesn't even have to go to Rochester.
No,
he's going right to the show. Yep.
Yeah, he's going right to the show. I mean, him and Portillo definitely are top 2 prospects for goalies right now.
Yeah.
And for Levi going back to college, honestly,
it opens the door for Eric Portillo.
It opens the door for Portillo. And 2, if I was Levi, I'd honestly probably make the same decision because he literally led the whole league of NCAA in shutouts.
And goals against average.
Goals against average. And then they go into the first round and lose to, I want to say Western Michigan.
I think it was
Western Michigan, yeah. So
just an uncharacteristic game from him, but.
Yeah, he played really well. But, I mean, yeah, him going back, that's not really that bad of a move. And then, well, like you said, it opens the door for Portillo. And then if he ends up going on to win the ship with Northeastern, he's coming right to the show.
Yeah. I think so for sure. Eric Portillo should be in Rochester next year. If they desperately need a goalie, like if UPL is their goalie next year, we don't have Craig Anderson or Tokarski anymore. He's our guy. Maybe Portillo can play the backup role. Mm-hmm. But if they desperately need one, he's going to be right there in Rochester for you to pick up.
Yep.
Michigan Frozen 4.
Oh, I'm hyped.
Frozen 4 is on Thursday or against Denver. What are we thinking about this one? NCAA hockey, very underrated.
I've been following Michigan all year. Big Michigan guy. But, watching this team, they're unreal. And all these NHL prospects that they have and seeing them, how they all click, it's super exciting to watch. And watching them in this tournament, their last game against Quinnipiac, number 2 ranked team, also number 1 or 2 standing in their division because they're not in the Big Ten. Michigan put up 7 goals.
Yeah. And they just blew the doors off of them.
Yeah, 7-4, that is kind of a high-scoring game for that tournament, but you're putting up 7 against a number 2 ranked team, and now you're going against, I think Denver's ranked 1 or 2, I forgot which one it is, but another top team. I mean, I'm excited. I'm going to guess that they're going to win, I'll say like 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2 is a pretty safe score. Maybe 3-1.
Maybe 3-1.
Maybe they shut them out 3-0.
Maybe they even run it up and put up 5 or 6.
7.
Who knows?
that would be something. Another thing that came into my mind while we were writing the script here, Joe Thornton is with Florida. We know that he's ring chasing. Can he win his first and only Stanley Cup with the Panthers, who would also get their first Stanley Cup in franchise history?
So now the talk/debate comes into play is, which Sabre's going to get the ring first? Is it going to be Jack Eichel with Vegas or Sam Reinhart with Florida?
Money on the table right now, go with the safe pick and go with Sammy.
Yeah.
Go with Rhino because their team is set up perfectly. I think they've already clinched a spot, if I'm not mistaken, or something has to drastically go wrong for them to miss the playoffs. I think they've already clinched, but I go with Sam Reinhart because Vegas is kind of like in the middle. If they catch a bad skid towards the end, they could go down, but if they get hot at the right time, they could still go pretty far.
Yeah, and actually when I was watching the NHL Network earlier, they said if playoffs were to start right now, Florida's first opponent would be Washington.
Wow.
Not something that I like to see personally.
Almost a little unfair. Kind of like what they did last year when the first round Florida had to face against Tampa Bay. Florida was a very good team last year. Kind of got the short end of the stick there. Had to face against the best team in hockey that actually went on to win the Stanley Cup last year. But it seems like you have to get over this hump before they could, they need to prove themselves if they want to go to the finals. So I think that's a perfect opportunity. And you can tell that when they have a lot of scouts that are in Russia, they have a lot of Russian players on their team that totally turned it around. You can link this back to the Sabres, who also in 2020, 2021, were starting to put in scouts going into Russia. I can't remember the guy's name that we selected in the 4th round. It was like something Iwazowski or something.
Yeah, it was some weird Russian name. I don't know.
I couldn't even pronounce it.
I literally couldn't pronounce it. It's like I'm not even gonna try. Yeah, it's some Russian prospect that we drafted a few years back, but
it was more than one. I think there was one in round 4, one in round 5, maybe round 6. But that is what the Florida Panthers have been doing. They've been loading up on these players, and all they care about is winning hockey games, and that's something that you want to see. But honestly, I think Florida, they have a legitimate run to get to the playoff. Even if they're facing against Alex Ovechkin. Yeah. Ovi wants to win another cup.
Of course.
But so does Joe Thornton, so does Sam Reinhart. This is going to be Reinhart's first time in the playoffs.
I mean, if you just think about it, the East is just crazy now. The East is just absolutely insane.
And it used to be so bad.
And it used to be horrible.
It was horrible, and the Sabres would still miss the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's it's just a complete flip-flop. Now the West is a little bit more down, and the East is up, and it's I'm excited to see what comes for the NHL playoffs.
It's going to be absolutely crazy. I think the next time we're going to be on the show, there's going to be 4 or 5 games left in the regular season, but we'll be right here for you. So stay tuned because we're going to have Topher back on to talk some NCAA March Madness, the finals, Kansas versus North Carolina. So stay tuned.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Happy to have Topher back on. Topher, it's been a while. It's been a whole 15 minutes since you came back on. But some big things coming out of March Madness. Honestly, I think it's more of a storybook type of finish. You have the Tar Heels from Chapel Hill taking on the Kansas Jayhawks, who, by the way, Kansas going into the 2020 season that ended up getting canceled due to the pandemic, had the #1 seed. And their fans, their players felt robbed that they didn't get a chance to play. They go in 2022, 2 years later, and they come out on top. They win by 3 over North Carolina. It's almost like a storybook type ending. I was super happy with the outcome of this game.
Oh, for sure. It was a great game overall to watch. It was honestly, all of these games were fun to watch if you were Kansas fans. Obviously, for the other ones, you might have been a little bit disappointed. One of the Final Four games was arguably one of the best games in the tournament.
Yeah.
And then the other one was not as much, but it was still a great game to watch. So yeah, that final game between UNC and Kansas was just a great overall game. They just played they all just played great, honestly.
And remember, North Carolina went into this game as the 8th seed. Nobody had them advancing and going to the finals, but they pretty much shocked the world, I guess you can say. Even though they are a top 10 team. But going into the first half, at one point, the Tar Heels had a 15-point lead at that point, and nobody really thought that Kansas had the stuff to come back and win the game. But strangest things happen in the sport of college basketball, and if you're a North Carolina fan waking up this morning, you weren't feeling pretty good. Feeling a little snake bitten, if I must say.
I don't even know if you could say snake bitten, because how do you go up by 15 at half and lose? I don't care. I wanted Kansas to win this game just off of I like Kansas more than I like UNC. I don't really like a lot of the ACC schools for the most part. How do you go down? How do you go up 15? You have a dude that's averaging a double-double throughout the whole tournament. He got 15 and 15 today. Actually, he did better than that, I think. He had 15 rebounds. I think he won more than 15-15. Armando Bacot is a freak, and you lost.
Right.
Kansas has players. Kansas has superstars. But, oh, my God, you had no right to lose that game. Without a doubt.
Especially going up by 15.
It's ridiculous.
We know that all it takes is, 15 points is 5 possessions. And if you miss here and there, they're going to start to catch up. But at that point, it kind of felt like in the second half, North Carolina was playing very conservative. They were only taking shots from inside the paint instead of trying to run up the score. And they were getting a lot of uncharacteristic fouls, too, that nobody really saw coming. And, the only way that you can describe it, and I saw a bunch of North Carolina fans and all their Twitter members that have the verified check mark saying historical collapse.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to describe it, because it truly was a historical collapse. This is something that you'd see out of Duke.
Yeah.
A team that is notorious for choking in big games.
Which is funny, because that's what people say about Kansas a lot of the time. People love to say Kansas chokes in big games, and they just didn't do it today.
I don't remember the last time Kansas had to come back to win a game.
Yeah, no.
If I'm being completely... They're usually just winning.
Yeah, or they're blowing leads.
Yeah.
They don't really do come from behind leads.
They were never in the regular season down by more than 10 points to a team. At least not inside the top 5. North Carolina's 8, Kansas was 1. North Carolina was, if you're a North Carolina fan, you're happy that you got there. Yeah. But you'd rather get blown out in the championship game than have a 15-point lead at halftime and blow it away.
Yeah, no, there's 2 bad outcomes. You were the worst of the bad outcomes, and that's saying something. Because, I think at that point, you get blown up by Kansas, you're all right, we got blown up by a 1 seed. They were meant to be here. People predicted them to be in the finals. Nah, you guys choked against a 1 seed. You choked against a 1 seed that are notorious for choking games. So,
a number 1 seed that is heavily debated on whether or not they should actually be a number 1 seeded team.
No, I think Kansas should have been the 1. There was a 1 seed that should not have been the 1 seed, and it was the other Big 12 team.
Yeah.
It was Baylor and UNC. UNC just couldn't beat 2 1 seeds from the Big 12. I don't know what to tell you.
And you saw what happened to Baylor in the tournament this year.
Oh my God, dude.
Ooh.
Wait, UNC blew 2 leads.
They did.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. UNC was down by a ton against Baylor, right? Or were they up by a lot?
No, they were up by a lot.
Oh my
Baylor started
God.
to come back. Yep.
Yo, UNC, you should not have been in this tournament. I don't care. Those 2 games are just embarrassments on your program in this tournament. Yeah, you made the finals, but at what cost at this point?
I just think it doesn't really make sense. You go into the Final Four, you have a convincing win. I think they won by 4 in the Final Four.
Yeah, and it was a great game.
And it was a great back and forth type of game.
Good.
They put up 81 in that game.
Yeah, it was a great game to watch. That was my favorite game of the Final Four weekend was that game.
Absolutely. But then you go into this one, you're running away with it at halftime.
Yeah.
All you have to do is hold on to it, keep running up the score, and keep playing solid defense. They didn't do any of those things.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, all I'm saying is UNC wasted an opportunity to watch St. Peter's versus Duke, and they won against St. Peter's, and they couldn't win. They didn't win the tournament. That's what I told them they had to do. If they were going to beat St. Peter's, they needed to win the tournament to make it worth it, and they didn't do that. They beat Duke. Happy they beat Duke, because I hate Duke.
Extremely excited that they beat Duke.
I hate Duke more than I hate UNC. But, like, if you're going to beat St. Peter's, who was the legend 15
If you're going to beat America's team.
Thank you. No, they were America's team. Like, everyone was rooting for them. You're going to blow them out by 20 and make them feel bad. You better win the dang tournament. And they didn't do that.
That was probably what the St. Peter's players were saying, too. You go in and beat us, you guys better go out and win the championship. They're probably the biggest North Carolina Chapel Hill fans out there.
Or they were rooting against them so hard. It was like...
throwing a parade of Kansas won.
Yeah, like, honestly, they're probably the biggest Kansas fans in the tournament. But they also probably thought, they're like, well, at least we could have lost to the champion. No, you didn't.
But, man, if it happened, if the unthinkable happened where St. Peter's faces against Kansas, that would be the best I mean... maybe the best. It really depends on how close
statistically would be like the
second
second best outcome you could get in terms of like disparity besides a 1 in a 16.
Yeah.
Which is just nuts.
But they would also have to go in and beat Duke.
Oh, dude. The Duke
St. Peter's versus Duke.
Coach K in a last game would have been a 30 for 30 for all 30 for 30s, no matter the outcome. It did not matter. St. Peter's wins, that's even better. But Duke, it's Coach K's last tournament, and then you have the greatest Cinderella run in history, and it collides. Like, dude, sports aren't scripted, because if it was scripted, they easily would have made that game happen.
Absolutely.
Let's just throw it out there.
I mean, what does Al Michaels always say? You can't make this stuff up?
Yeah, no, everyone made that one up in their heads, and they didn't do it, and that's how you know sports aren't scripted.
Exactly. But, man, what a story it would have been. But Kansas, on the other hand, they had to jump through a lot of hoops to get here. Number one, in the Final Four, beating a team like Villanova was a tough task, but they came out on top. That was a pretty convincing win, too, because in that second half, you can see the first half of that game, Kansas was more of a defense-type mode. Just stop them from scoring. Second half, they were the most shoot-first basketball team I had ever seen. I mean, Villanova, that's like something you'd see against Kansas. You know, them getting dunked on, them getting threes thrown on them, but their accuracy inside the key, outside of the three-point arc, it seemed like they weren't missing anything. They had the little fire icon under them like they were playing NBA Jam or something.
Yeah, no, they could not miss a shot.
And
it was kind of
They couldn't miss a shot. And I was like, that team has to go to the championship. No matter if they're facing against Duke or North Carolina, I want to see the Jayhawks in the finals.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. Like, no, Kansas winning that just made the most sense in the outcome based on how those two teams played in the final. Like, that UNC Duke game was great to watch, but UNC did not look like a team that was going to win the championship. But like at the end of the day, it's UNC. Like, it was a bunch of blue blood schools. Anyone could win, and you could justify any of them winning. I don't care if they're an 8 seed. It's North Carolina at the end of the day. They had Jordan. They had all these players. They've been in the championship game before. They're not an 8 seed in all practice. Right. So, like, realistically, no matter who won that tournament, yeah, the storyline was going to be like, oh, the 8 seed won. It's UNC, dude.
Right. But, yeah, their name alone should give them a top 10 spot.
Absolutely.
In the tournament.
They're always going to they're an ACC school. They're going to go far in the tournament.
Of course.
They beat Duke in the regular season. They're going to get a top 8 seed always. Like, they're not always going to be a top 25 team. They're going to be a top 8 seed, so.
And North Carolina, it's not all bad things. You still have a great lacrosse program. Football team's starting to grow a little bit, and you still have a great basketball team. Kansas, you start off as a football school, but you turn into a basketball school, and you won it all. So,
Thanks.
Congratulations to Kansas and whoever was on that team and whoever goes to that school. Huge, big things. I hope they can keep this thing going because it's a great story. But Topher, thanks for coming on. And up next, we're going to have the racing geek himself to talk some Formula One racing. So stay tuned. So awkward, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, why is there such a bad pause?
Worldwide hustlers who can make it rain. They're tearing down the old boys club and seeing big gains. Because when women in tech come together, you know they make that change.
Every day,
millions of people are connected.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort.
to get to know each other,
On a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
actor.
it's time we take a step forward
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
and discover
How accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
Let's go.
you'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes!
Make a plan today.
Happy to have Nick Fuller back on to talk some Formula One. Nick, it's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, Trevor.
And we got some big news coming out of Formula One. How about F1 going to the casinos, baby? Let's go.
Vegas, baby! F1, the newest and latest and greatest, has announced their new track in Formula One. I have a picture of it up here, ready to go. But basically, it's going to go around the Bellagio. It goes around the MGM Sphere. It goes up to, oh, God, I can't remember what the other freaking casino it goes by. But it goes right on the Strip. There it is on, like, the graphics laid out. You see the Bellagio on the bottom left.
The Eiffel Tower.
There's going to be some great overtaking at the top there, in the top right with that little hairpin. That's looking promising. You've got the MGM Sphere up by turn 6. It's kind of got a lot of Sochi vibes with the long right-hander into a 90-degree left. You could see some overtaking.
Long straightaway, too, down in turn 10.
Huge straightaway. Right on the Strip, it looks like. So we'll see how this racetrack turns out. It could. Street circuits are very hit and miss. Sometimes you get a Baku, which is incredible overtaking, awesome qualifying, all around amazing. Sometimes you get a Monte Carlo, some like great qualifying but crap race, and then sometimes you get none of those, and it's just crap all around.
I was going to ask, how long do you think this took in the making to set up a Formula One course in Las Vegas?
I think as long as Liberty Media has been the owners of F1, ever since Bernie Ecclestone sold to Liberty Media, who Liberty Media also owns the Braves and Sirius XM, so they also own Formula One. Those are their three big things. So there's a lot of huge assets in there that you've talked about before. The Braves made some big moves, but
yeah, they did. They won the World Series.
Right? So yeah, it's looking great for that company.
But at the same time, I think them branching out into the United States, into a very populous city like Las Vegas, is going to spread the sport even more in the USA, because I feel like it's super underrated in this country, and it's more looked at in countries in Europe and stuff like that.
It's finally breaking through. I went to the U.S. Grand Prix this last year, and Lewis Hamilton said it best when he was on the podium. He says, it feels like we've finally broken through to the U.S. market. And I can't agree more. Like everyone, I've actually met Formula One fans in real life. I've been trying to for like years. Nobody will ever talk to me. They all run away from me. They think I'm weird. But it's great. I have someone to talk to occasionally now.
And I think with Formula One, or at least in the United States, like people just want to see a good show.
And it's not been for a few years because the cars.
For a few years, it hasn't been. With stock car racing, like in NASCAR, they can promise you every day that they're going to put on the best race ever, and it's a total crapshoot.
Yeah.
Formula One, as of right now, is growing the numbers in the United States. As far as like TV ratings, they're growing up faster than ever over the past 2 years.
They actually had more than the Super Bowl.
More than the Super Bowl.
The final race had 109 million viewers. The Super Bowl had 104 million viewers. Take that, NFL. Formula One.
And Daytona 500 had 1 million viewers. So let's see who's truly winning. And I think maybe when Formula One keeps rising in the United States, maybe then NASCAR will finally wake up and say, hey,
it's time to join.
We're finally falling in the rankings. It's time to finally change something here.
Exactly. So real quick, U.S., great, I love it. We're going to jump ship to across the entire Pacific to go to Australia real quick, where this is race week. March 10th, we are having a race.
That's the Saturday, Sunday?
That's Sunday. Saturday qualifying. It is going to be taking place at 1 a.m. Eastern time. It sucks, but you're going to have to deal with it. Japan is worse. It's going to be interesting. They've made a lot of circuit modifications at Albert Park, sorry. There's going to be 4 DRS zones, which is the record. There's never been this many. Only 2 DRS detection zones. So we'll see how it works out. The course has become a lot more flowing, a lot faster with harder braking zones. I'm hoping it'll lead to better overtaking because Albert Park is kind of mids. It's not the worst of the worst tracks by any means. There's plenty to like about it, but it could have been improved. Hopefully these improvements actually do something, and along with the new cars, hopefully they can follow closer. I will say Albert Park does have one of the coolest turns. If you look up the fast chicane at Albert Park, from a stand perspective, you get the full aspect of what a Formula One car can do. That's a high downforce turn that actually shows it properly.
And when you look at some of these drivers in the top 3, who do you think really has the best shot, or at least getting the best qualifying position? Who has the most success usually in the Australian Open? Just real fast.
I think Verstappen is going to be on top because it's a very power-hungry circuit. So I'm calling Verstappen, Sainz,
Leclerc maybe.
Leclerc third, I'd say, and I'm calling a Perez fourth. That's what my prediction is.
I can't really argue with that. I mean, Verstappen is still the reigning champ.
He
has enough power to do it again.
The Red Bull seems to be up on power on the straights. That's all I can say.
Yep, and I mean, so just wait till we get to Vegas and we see those straightaways. I cannot wait for that next year. But thanks for coming on. He's actually going to stay on with us because coming up in approximately 2 minutes, Topher, Fuller, and I are going to recap WrestleMania 38 for 13, 12
really?
minutes.
Topher's coming on?
He is coming on, so don't go away if you want to get your wrestling fix.
Catch.
We're ready for you.
Pneumococcal. If you're 65 or older, like me, you're at greater risk for pneumococcal pneumonia, even if you're healthy.
People 65 plus are over 10 times more likely to land in the hospital for pneumococcal pneumonia than those 18 to 49. And it's important we all do what we can to stay healthy. So, talk to your doctor or pharmacist about vaccination.
Hope. Where are you hiding? I search for you in the seconds, the minutes of each and every day. Hear me as I call out to you. Take my hand. Lift me up as I lift up others. Welcome me home, Father, Mother, sister, brother, son, daughter. Hear us now. Alone we stood, divided we fell. No longer. Now we choose to make the connection. Our new mission lies within. Visit maketheconnection.net to learn more.
16 is such a significant age. I promise to help protect my eldest daughter during this exciting time in her life. Teens are at an increased risk for meningococcal disease, a rare, potentially deadly bacterial infection. But half haven't received the CDC-recommended second dose of the MenACWY vaccine at 16. I want to help change that. Take your shot against meningitis. Talk to your teen's doctor about the MenACWY vaccine and ask about MenB. Visit the16vaccine.org.
On this show.
WWE?
We're talking about that on this show. What did I say going into this? We said that Topher was going to be here.
Yeah, I told you Topher wasn't coming, dude. Of course he's not coming. He doesn't like WrestleMania.
Maybe he's not going to come on then. We don't. I guess you don't. What is going on?
Oh!
Dude, you can't be doing that. See, I told you he was coming back on. There he is.
Oh. Wow, this is something.
Who does that really remind you of, though, if you really think about it?
That we've only missing one thing and one thing only.
I think he reminds me of the 2022 first ballot WWE Hall of Famer, The Undertaker. He definitely earned it. I mean, 32 years in the business. He was the dead man, the phenom, the #1 WWE superstar of all time, 2007 Royal Rumble winner. he was the undead, and his thing he said in his, I think he said a couple of things that stuck out to me, at least in his Hall of Fame speech. For the first time in 32 years, he came out as Mark Calloway, not as The Undertaker. So that was very interesting to see. He just looks like just like your everyday biker dude from Houston. But he said when the fans were chanting, "One more match," he said, "Never say never," and he ended his speech with "Rest in peace." So, I mean, that is the best way to go out because he had that undefeated WrestleMania streak. 21-0 it was. And then they had him job to Brock, which I'm still upset about because Brock Lesnar was out of the business for 8 years, was bashing the business because he joined the UFC, comes in and squashes The Undertaker's streak. But what a career from The Undertaker.
It was crazy.
I mean, I don't think there's another wrestler that has stretched as long and has been as prolific as The Undertaker. I remember playing as him back in WWE like 2K3. Yeah, I played way too much Undertaker. Him and the Boogeyman, man. The creepy duo, I loved that, but it's going to be well missed, that man.
Yeah, he was thanking everybody at his Hall of Fame speech, and he's like, I especially want to thank my pretend brother Kane for not only stealing all of my wrestling moves,
He's a mayor now.
but he's the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee.
What's weirder, that or Shaq being a sheriff of Jacksonville?
Okay, they're both weird,
mayor.
but
Kane
Kane is the big red monster, the brother of The Undertaker, and he's also the Republican mayor for Knoxville County, Tennessee.
I love it. It's great. It's amazing. No, but like literally you can ask non-WWE fans and they will recognize, like there are two guys they will always recognize. John Cena and The Undertaker.
Yep.
Like they are two of the most recognizable faces in WWE
And
history.
The Rock.
Oh, and The Rock, of course. But like The Rock has moved on into Hollywood, and of course he's
pop
a lot
culture.
of people don't know he was in WWE, which is crazy. I don't understand how they don't, but there are a lot of people who don't, which just makes it crazy. Because like you look at Undertaker, and like everyone knows who that is. John Cena, everyone knows who that is.
Of course.
Do you guys smell
Oh my God.
what The Rock is cooking?
Stop.
The most
That was
electrifying
awful. That was
superstar
an
in all of
awful joke.
WWE history.
Dear God.
The eyebrow-raising, phenomenal, most electrifying human being in all of sports entertainment.
Enough Rock.
Yes.
All right, do we want to get into actual results? Because that was crazy.
We can get into WrestleMania 38. I think first of all, we need to talk about the random appearances. The Jackass appearance from the movie Jackass, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, what
Weird
the heck
appearance.
was the Wee Man appearance?
The Wee Man appearance
Under the
was
ring.
weird.
It was so
I loved it. I
stupid.
laughed my butt off, but
it's-
it's so stupid.
Like, this is every WrestleMania, though. Like, it's almost, there's going to be celebrity appearances. Like, I think there was at least 4. There was celebrity.
Logan Paul's technically not a celebrity, I don't think, anymore, because he's signed, right?
He has been, yeah, okay. So I think there's, okay, so if you're going to look at it, I'm going to say realistically 3.
Pat, the Knoxville, and who else?
Logan Paul.
Logan
Those are the
Paul.
3 I'm going to count.
Yes.
So those 3 are not like bona fide wrestlers, no matter how like good they actually are in the ring and like what they do. Because like all 3 of them kind of balled out from like they were all
Pat
really
McAfee
good.
especially.
Oh, Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee
I mean,
is an incredible wrestler.
If
He's
any of you
proved
guys
it.
have seen his NXT matches
Oh.
and what he did at WrestleMania, he can take a bump.
It's crazy.
Better than half the WWE roster.
It's insane.
His work on the mic also absolutely stellar. I think his best parts. He's such a good trash talker. And like the lead up, because I was watching the Pat McAfee show before the NXT,
Yep.
and the lead up on that into the
it was
NXT,
great.
so well done. It kind of actually almost felt real for just a smidge the beef. And then like just once you reveal that it's WrestleMania, it's like, oh, this is gonna get even better.
And not only did Pat McAfee give Logan Paul the skull-crushing finale, which is the Miz's finishing move, but he also shared 2 beers with Stone Cold Steve Austin. He said a childhood dream lived out in real life in front of millions of fans.
And that's so.
Yeah, oh my God. The cell was actually great. So like Steve Austin, he has his ring rust. He did not look like wasn't bad by any means. He was not bad in the ring for his age, but like Pat McAfee selling that stunner was great.
It was great. Like, I mean, back in the day when Stone Cold would hit the stunner on Vince, he was the best one to sell the stunner because he'd be on the ground shaking like this. What we saw at WrestleMania,
was
he
wonderful.
totally botched that. That's gonna be on Botchamania's Twitter in a couple seconds.
Bad.
But they were both drinking beers in the ring. He goes for the stunner, and I guess Vince just fell over.
Like he looked like he tore both of his ACLs again.
Yeah, he did that one time.
He told both of them getting into the ring.
And he just stayed there.
Exactly. And he ended up having to sit in the corner. And this time he looked like he did it again. And I honestly got nervous he did it again.
Yeah.
I was like terrified.
Because he's like, what is he, pushing 80? Or how old is he?
He's
too old
way
to be
too
in the
old.
ring.
But wow. What were some of your favorite matches on the card other than seeing pop culture people like Logan Paul? Like, any real matches that really stuck out to you guys?
I really liked the Randy Orton and Riddle. That was a good fight. They both had great RKOs.
Yeah.
I thought that was a highlight for me, definitely.
Yeah, I like how Randy still has it, too.
Oh, he's
he's
so
been in the business
good.
since 2004. And back in the day, they used to refer to him as Randy Headlock Orton because that was the only thing that he would do. But, he's just grown so much as a wrestler. He's a third-generation superstar.
And he's the best one of them all.
And he's definitely one of the best. How about the main event with Roman Reigns becoming the undisputed champion?
It was so good.
Well-deserved, I think, because I think he's one of the guys that still brings it every single week. He's the guy that definitely earned the undisputed title. I think the last time that happened at WrestleMania was either with Chris Jericho winning both titles. I think he fought twice in WrestleMania in 2003. Ended up getting both titles. And then Daniel Bryan in WrestleMania 30, right?
One of the best WrestleMania matches ever.
Because he beat Triple H in 25 minutes.
Yep, he beat Triple H earlier in the day and then beat Batista and Randy Orton.
Yep.
It was
in a triple threat.
Yeah, it was insane.
I'm just glad they made Roman Reigns a villain finally.
Oh, he's so good at it.
It was so bad when he wasn't.
Such a good heel. And babyface Brock Lesnar.
I don't understand it.
It's so entertaining.
It is entertaining because
it's great.
I really never looked at him as a babyface. I never really looked at him as a heel. I just looked at him as Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Like, he's just one of a kind.
Brock
he doesn't care if you cheer him or boo him or get no reaction.
Yeah, he's just going to murder you.
He's going to go in and stomp his opponent.
Yeah.
And, he's had great matches throughout his career, like WrestleMania moments against Kurt Angle, doing the shooting star press, where he almost broke his neck jumping off of the top rope.
That was that's one of those, scariest moments things. You watch, you're like, he died. Like, you just watched a man die in the middle of the ring.
But, this WrestleMania had some WrestleMania moments. Just the fact that Roman Reigns is the undisputed champion, you can look at that as a WrestleMania moment. Undertaker and Triple H going 45 minutes in a Hell in a Cell.
That was insane.
That is WrestleMania right there.
The Ric Flair,
Shawn
Michaels match.
His retirement match.
That one was insane.
Obviously, Taker and HBK's retirement
all
match.
Those are great. I think the other match that actually stands out in this one is, of course, Cody Rhodes actually coming back to WWE.
Yeah, how do we feel about
being
that, guys?
I think it makes it interesting because dude hated his time in WWE here when they ruined his character.
Then AEW had him job every single match.
Yeah, but he was the foundation of AEW basically. So to watch him come back and have a great match and beat Seth Rollins, so they're not making him job. They let him win on WrestleMania stage, night one basically. You gotta think they're doing something special with it.
Yeah, what do you think about Cody Rhodes coming back? He left the WWE as Stardust, the brother of Goldust, the son of Dusty Rhodes. I don't know what that gimmick was that Vince slapped on him, but he had bad blood with the WWE, and now he's back. I
hate how Vince McMahon will ruin a wrestler. I'm glad he's getting a second shot. I could take it or leave it personally. I have no real strong opinion about it.
Vince's idea of Steve Austin was the ringmaster.
Yeah, dude, that
like a British king type of character. He let Stone Cold run with his character, and he took off. He made The Undertaker. We'll say that. That could never get off the ground now. Nobody would believe in a gimmick in the world of social media in 2022 that this dead guy, this undead dead guy keeps coming back or whatever. But it worked for 1990. That was the thing.
It was great.
It worked for a lot longer than 1990. Let's be real here.
Yeah,
true.
But during the age without social media, that just worked. And you never see him at public events. He really stuck with his character on and off the camera. That was what made him super special. But you know what? Props to Vince though for creating the concept of WrestleMania.
Oh yeah.
And have it be in year 38 and you're still selling out football stadiums.
Oh my God, yeah. It was in Dallas.
They've evolved with it. They used to be more serious. They're getting more jokey with it. I love it. It's entertaining. It's hilarious. Good energy.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Obviously, I think the thing, because we were talking about the Roman Reigns ones earlier, obviously The next one's in Hollywood. There are rumors.
That's in SoFi, right?
Yeah, it's in Los Angeles. It's Hollywood WrestleMania. You got Roman Reigns. You got cousin of The Rock. It's kind of just, it's there, dude.
Dream match.
The question is, how are you going to make it so Roman Reigns is the champion for another whole year?
What you do?
You have him drop it to someone, right? But who?
Yep,
That's
you make
the
him.
question.
You make him drop the title at
Pat
Elimination
McAfee.
Chamber, or make him lose it to Pat McAfee, and then get it back from McAfee at Elimination Chamber or SummerSlam. Have
no shot he drops it to
have
McAfee,
the Rock.
dude.
Have the Rock
Weirder things
come
have
back
happened.
at the Royal Rumble, win the Royal Rumble, and go after the title at WrestleMania. So Roman Reigns fights the Rock. That's how you do it.
You drop it to like Edge or McIntyre, who won. Heck, even
Edge
Cody
would be
Rhodes. Cody Rhodes would be a really good one because he was in AEW for so long. So you have him drop it to someone.
And he wants to
Actually,
get it.
also, I hate to say it, I could see it going to Logan for a quick.
Yeah, not
really,
that one.
but
Vince McMahon would lose all credibility if he hasn't already. If he did that.
I know, but like,
Well,
I could see it getting like a fluke loss and then immediately one back the next week. I could really see that happening.
Well, we've
And then,
seen
like,
dream
someone else.
matches before. I mean, Rock and Hogan, Rock and Cena. Let's do Rock and Reigns, okay?
It has to.
But if you guys haven't seen the highlights of WrestleMania 38, some of it was funny, some of it was actually like pretty
Great
interesting.
wrestling.
But yeah, guys, thanks for coming on. The first time we've covered World Wrestling Entertainment since like last year.
Yeah.
I'm always down to do it again. So thank you for watching this episode of Sports Hour live from Hendricks Hall. We'll see you same time, same place next week, Tuesday. God bless. And have a great rest of the week.
www.
WW.